Welcome to the Sailor Noob podcast, where a superfan and a noob talk about the original Sailor Moon episode by episode. I'm your host, Mikan Hana, joined by my co-host.
I'm the co-host and the noob, Caliban.
And we're a couple of magical people ready to moon prison power make up this episode. Sailor Noob is brought to you by the Moon Kingdom.
What a great opening. It's repeatable, it's solid, it tells everybody who we are, and the best part is, it doesn't essentially ruin the plot of the series that you're watching. From day one.
Yeah, that's true. Are you mad at the anime?
Well, I got some things to get off my chest, but I guess they can maybe wait until our comments section at the end of the inevitable recap.
Okay.
But they relate to what a series tries to communicate and how careful it has to be, and it's part of the Goodbye Earth 2 discussion, we'll call it. Remember Earth 2?
Earth 2 in comics?
It's in comics.
Yeah.
Actually, that's all that matters. Okay. It was also a early 90s, actually mid-90s NBC sci-fi series where a bunch of people, Clancy Brown and Rebecca Gayheart, the Maxima girl, find a second Earth. They tried to kind of redo the same concept recently. Recently is like at the end of the aughts with a show called Terra Nova.
And this is, as far as I understand, it's completely different from the comics Earth 2.
No, it has nothing to do with multiverses or
Okay. Huh. I mean, I guess maybe since the beginning of sci-fi, when you think about all the possibilities and everything, people think about time travel and like, is this the only universe? And what if there was another Earth? So I guess I get where the concept comes from and why we might be curious about that. But is it any good?
I don't know what the it is at this point. There's a difference between, an Earth in another multiverse and an Earth that is a possible place for the human race to travel to and live. Hopefully not because we've used up Earth 1.
True.
If you wreck your car and you get a new car, it's my car 2, right?
Right. That's true.
Yeah. No, that's 2. So so in most scenarios it is, the Earth sucks, and so we've got to find Earth 2.
We don't want to get to that point in actual reality. Where we need to be searching for Earth 2.
Maybe we could have Moon 2. Kind of relates to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, we should probably get into it.
We will.
Yeah. Oh man, you haven't even given the title yet.
No, I haven't. Today we are talking about episode number 35. Yomigaeru Kyoku, Usagi to Mamoru no Kako. In Japanese, Returning Memories, Usagi and Mamoru's Past, the English translation, and the English title, A Reluctant Princess. No comment?
Why are you looking at me for a comment?
Because you usually comment after we do the titles. I guess I've come to expect it. Sorry.
No, I'm simmering or seething over here, or some S word.
Well, maybe let's just get into it, and then we can talk about our feelings and emotions about it. I know. Would you like to give a brief synopsis of
It's not going to be brief.
Okay.
I'll do my best.
Okay.
I'll try to make it shorter than all the synopsises and exposition dumps we received in this episode. It opens without the usual, hi, I'm Usagi. We just don't do those anymore, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So we get a recap at the end of this essentially 3-parter with the first 2 episodes where Mamoru's hurt, yada yada, Silver Crystal, and Usagi's the Moon Princess. And Usagi is freaked out as she relates this stuff. Mm-hmm. I forgot to mention that I guess we mentioned it when we described the princess last week, but she's got a moon on her head like Luna and Artemis.
Yes.
So put a Band-Aid on it, see what happens.
Wow.
So we open in the Starlight Tower where we were before. Everybody's looking at Usagi, and Luna's head moon glows, and she says, Princess Serenity, when she sees the transformed Usagi.
Yes.
Everybody is like, what? What are you talking about?
What are you doing? Yeah.
And Mako says, wait, Sailor Moon was the princess the whole time? And Ami says,
right.
oh, Mamoru was Tuxedo Mask. So everybody knows where we all are now. So
Yes.
that's great. Zoe is like, let me get that crystal, Zoe.
Yes.
But Usagi raises the moonstick and she just blows him back. Like, just knocks him back. Usagi's tears fall on Mamoru. And he says, Serenity, I remember everything now. I am Endymion. Huh?
Yeah.
Usagi also says that she remembers that she is Serenity. And we see a presumed flashback of the presumed Moon Kingdom, which has the Earth in the sky. And again, going back to the opening, or at least the second opening that we got in the show, the after episode. It'd be really cool if I could just pull it out, but I'm saying it's like 20, 21, 22, something like that.
Yeah.
That really should have told me a lot, but we'll talk about our relationship with the openings of anime later.
Okay.
And we see that Serenity gives Endymion the star locket that plays the Moonlight Densetsu song. And they embrace, and then the kingdom explodes. A lot of fire.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying this fire is great. Endymion rushes into the fight, or to fight whatever the fire is, wherever it's from.
Yep.
And we don't know what happens. Serenity seems upset about that.
It's very vague. Yeah.
In the real world, Serenity basically, it's not clear what happens at all, but she's just kind of there, and then she glows, and she turns back into Sailor Moon and passes out.
Yes.
Oh, it's just too much memory. Yeah.
Right. She's not wearing the white dress anymore. She's back in her Sailor Moon.
Zoisite is in trouble. This is not looking good for him. So Kunzite appears, and Zoe fills him in. They're ready to square off with the sailors, but Kunzite says, you guys get to live a little longer. We'll see you around. And they disappear, and Tuxedo Mask disappears along with them.
Yes.
We cut to the Dark Kingdom, and they're getting a bollocking from Queen Beryl. She's just like, you lost the Silver Crystal, and you guys awakened the Moon Princess? Nice. Get the Eternal Sleep Emporium on the phone. And Kunzite says, whoa, hey, look, we got no excuse. We messed up big time. However, the princess has just awakened, and she doesn't fully control the Silver Crystal, so we still have time. And Beryl says, very well, I'll leave it to you. And isn't this where the problem is? With middle management? She's the one who is fielding all of these idiots, and she gives them like 57-second chances
I know.
to keep coming back.
Yes.
But speaking of extra chances, Zoisite is out of them, as Beryl asks, so, are you ready for your punishment, Zoe? And Kunzite's like, oh, hey, whoa, I'll take responsibility for this. Don't worry about it. And Beryl's like, I know you tried to kill Tuxedo Max, Zoe, and when I said not to, and who do you think I am? I see everything on my high-definition crystal ball. I lost my deposit with the Eternal Sleep Company, so zap! She just blows him back, and he's like smoking on the ground, and she's like, Kunzite, get rid of that trash. Wow. Wow.
I know.
Cut to the Great Ruler's sleeping thing, the big like jelly candy that she's inside, him, her, whatever. I think it is a her because Beryl refers to her as the Great Ruler Queen Metalia.
Yes.
And she says, awaken! And there, on the ground in front of her, is the unconscious, hopefully, form of Tuxedo Mask. Mm-hmm. And Metalia says, Endymion, how I've missed you. And Beryl says, okay, look, I know I'm going to crab a lot in a little bit about holding information back from the audience, but I do like how Sailor Moon just tells and not shows. Other way around, shows and not tells.
Yeah.
It just plays it out, and generally doesn't stop to like fill you in. Now, as soon as I get done with this scene, the episode stops to just fill you in until the end of the episode.
Right.
But I like the fact that they're saying things like, Beryl's like, oh, we didn't know the Prince of the Kingdom of Earth would be reincarnated in this era. And you're just like, huh? What is any of this? Scene's over. Mm-hmm. Those are the tantalizing glimpses I'm looking for.
Yes.
Metalia, presumably, says, you got to heal Endymion with the power of darkness right away. Mm-hmm. Is that like an HMO, or I don't know if this is in the network, but in another part of the Dark Kingdom, Kunzite is laying Zoisite down, and who's apparently still alive?
Apparently,
maybe a little bit. Yeah. And he says, I'm sorry. I asked Beryl to bring you back, but
what?
This has nothing to do with Sailor Moon. But I was watching, I'd never seen The Last Temptation of Christ.
Right.
I watched it the other day, and they have the scene where Christ raises Lazarus from the grave,
Yes.
Super cool. And then later on, a guy, Harry Dean Stanton, goes, "Oh, he really raised you from the grave." And Lazarus is like, "Yeah, he sure did." "Oh, cool." Stabs him and kills him.
Yeah.
Slight spoiler. And it's like, wow. I mean, I guess Jesus could just bring him back from the dead again. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's already like a revolving door for this guy, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know why you would think, this is going to silence him. What finality this has.
The miracle is dead.
But in this case, it's final, because off screen, apparently, he said, "Hey, can you bring him back after you just summarily executed him?"
Right,
But the answer was no.
Yeah.
And Zoisite says, "I'm happy to die in your arms, and my last wish is to die in a beautiful way." What? So Kunzite summons a flower zoom background for his death.
Oh.
And he dies, and he disappears. But we see a little purple butterfly, or maybe a petal. I couldn't really tell on the version I was watching, but a little thing flies away. And that's our boy.
That's the end of Zoisite.
Oh boy, it's all going to be reflected in the rating. Back in the tower, the girls are trying to find their way out of this tower, and Ami is using her RoboCop computer and her visor, and she says that they're in a sealed, complex, projective space. What?
Yeah, I know, right?
It's a two-dimensional reverse polarity zero space. You get it. It's technical. And Jupiter has been carrying Sailor Moon, which makes sense. But now Sailor Moon wakes up. And she's like, "Where's Tuxedo Mask?" And Mars tells him that the enemy took him away. And Artemis says, "Now that the princess is awakened, let me tell you the whole story." "Oh, great. Okay, we get to hear something else. All right, okay. Everybody sit down." And he asks Luna if her memories came back when the princess awakened.
Yeah.
And she says, yes, they did. And Mako says, he asks what we're all thinking. "What are you guys talking about? What is this?" And Venus says, "It's about our previous life, the Moon Kingdom, and Silver Millennium. I repeat, for the 10th time."
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Artemis says, "Long ago, there was a kingdom called Silver Millennium on the moon." And we see like this, Taj Mahal type things, imagery we've seen throughout the show.
Mm-hmm.
Luna says it was a peaceful paradise. And we see Serenity, the moon princess, working on some flowers or something, moonflowers. And she walks with an older woman whose face we don't see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just presuming she's older because she's taller and curvier.
Mm-hmm.
And they watch the Earth rise together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it happened. Earth was taken over by an evil entity. And Earth gains a huge evil face in this vision. Yeah. And they attacked, apparently, to gain the absolute power of the silver crystal. The kingdom was destroyed, but they managed to seal away the evil entity. We see an image similar to what we see in the opening of Sailor Moon with Princess Serenity using the silver crystal to blow away all these like snake things or whatever.
Yes.
And U4, and I presume she's talking about the scouts.
Yes.
But also Usagi, Serenity, are the reincarnations of the Guardians who fought that battle. Mm-hmm. Mako asks, she's up with all the questions. She's just ready to go. She asks if they're moon people, like if they're from the moon, which is a good question, I think. Mm-hmm. You always ask that. But Luna says, no, it was like the Moon Queen's wish that they have normal lives. So they were reincarnated as humans. Their souls are, I guess maybe souls can be anything, aliens, animals, whatever. But in this case, they're reincarnated as humans. And this era was chosen specifically because it was a peaceful era. But whoops, evil's here too.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Ami figures out, it just wants to take over a jewelry store for some reason. And then suddenly you got to get involved. Ami figures out that the evil entity is connected to the Dark Kingdom. Which is like, it's just so weird to think that we're 35 episodes in and like our heroes finally know who they're fighting. And
I hear you.
So thanks, Artemis, I guess. But at least somebody's paying attention. Usagi's been pretty quiet through all of this. She says that she's sick of fighting. They say that she's the princess, but she doesn't feel like a princess. I don't really care about my previous life. What if we fight evil? What if you all die? Like Mamoru did. I don't want that. And Rei just wallops her across the face and calls her a coward. And she says that Mamoru got hurt trying to protect a crybaby like you. And everybody's like, whoa, 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 let's calm down. let's give Usagi some time. Say 8 minutes, and see where her head's at. And Ami says that she's found the way out finally. Let's go. But Venus, she senses something. I don't know if she's attuned more or something, but they didn't give her any lines, I guess. So I'm part of this. Look, it's a guy with green hair.
Right.
They look up to see Kunzite. The girls form up to protect Usagi, and the cats run off to safety. Jupiter hits him with the Supreme Sundae. No effect. Same for Crescent Beam. They're all being absorbed, their attacks, and Kunzite blasts Venus and Jupiter, and they're knocked out of the fight. Rei says, take care of her, Mercury, referring to Usagi.
Mm-hmm.
And she tells Usagi she has to accept her destiny. And then she fire souls right at Kunzite, also no effect. And he shoots fire back at her and just lays her out. And Mercury says, not so fast. I'm going to, I guess, to confuse you with the bubble.
Right.
But no, Kunzite knocks both her and Usagi down. And things look really bad. But Usagi hears Rei telling her to do her best in her mind. And she gets up and says, Tuxedo Mask, give me strength. And we see a vision of him, or maybe him in the past or something. I don't really remember, telling her, hold up the silver crystal. And Kunzite says, all right, you want to die? I'm your man. And he blasts at her. But the crystal explodes with energy. We see the tower from the outside light up with this sort of pink or red energy. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe the animation budget ran out at this point, because I think we're supposed to understand that the tower is totally destroyed by this thing that happens.
Yes.
Or at least is just sent back where it came from, or eliminated, or whatever, because when we come back, the girls are just sitting at sea level in the ruins of the tower.
Yeah.
So, and Kunzite's like, damn, that stings. She's starting to figure this crystal out, so maybe we don't have as much time as we think we do. In the Dark Kingdom, Beryl watches as Tuxedo Mask is getting healed by dark energy in like a cocoon or a Star Trek biobed or something like that.
Yeah.
And Mamoru says, serenity under his breath. And Beryl says, no matter how much you love her, it is a love that cannot be.
Uh-huh.
As I said before, we're sitting in the remains of the destroyed tower. Usagi is thinking to herself. She looks out over the ocean. She says, thank you, Tuxedo Mask. And all the sailors are like, you're gonna fight with us, right? Right. And Luna tells everyone that they can handle any challenge together. And Usagi is sure that Tuxedo Mask is still alive somewhere.
Yes.
How come nobody ever saw the kingdom on the moon?
Like,
how long ago was this?
Like, from far away? I don't know. They don't say. They don't say how long ago it was.
There is a thing in storytelling,
mm-hmm.
and you get this. There are different ways to do long-running stories. And when you've got a show that will be at least 200 episodes, which is like 100 episodes is usually the cutoff point or the starting point for syndication. So if your show makes it to 3.5, 4 seasons, that's gravy for everybody involved, because everybody gets money for this. You want to do that.
Yeah.
Not just to entertain people, but just from a business standpoint. But 200 episodes, I know they didn't necessarily commission Sailor Moon R when they were doing like Sailor Moon Original, but they knew they were in this for the haul. Mm. When you've got something like Lost, where it has been said time and time again that the people who wrote that show had no idea where it was going.
Right.
And their only goal was to keep it going as long as possible, because it's a TV show. Mm-hmm. Even the guy that created it, J.J. Abrams, literally just said, there's a weird island with a polar bear on it. Okay, guys, see ya, I got other things to do. And then they just took it over and went from there.
Right.
And so eventually they just started putting like, philosophy books that they liked in it, and just kind of stealing genre storylines and bits from other things. And like, so, I mean, I'm not saying I don't like that, but I understand that there's a reality there.
Yeah.
Sailor Moon has... The fact that we stop every 6 episodes and ask me what I think is going on and where we're going is a testament, I think, to the fact that, for the most part, the show has done a really good job of parsing out this information bit by bit, giving you ideas about where things could be going, and letting you make assumptions and not spelling it all out. And for the most part, not doing a ton of dramatic irony either. I just mentioned the fact that, like, these girls... wear little skirts and boots, and they don't even know why they're doing this, except they're looking for a princess for over 30 episodes.
That's true.
Little weird.
Yeah.
But, you're 14. What else are you going to do? So other than that, though, there isn't a lot of like, ooh, the audience knows something that they don't. We're all sort of finding that out together.
True.
And for the most part, I really like the way it's done it. But I've got some big complaints.
Go for it.
One is we finally... Oh, first of all, I thank you. I thank you. Send your well wishes and your coffees and your trophies for me getting essentially the entire thing right. In my last Here's What's Going On. But I think subconsciously I realized, it's been all over the series this entire time.
There have been hints.
And especially when they switched the opening to the new opening. I wasn't even like aware until I watched this episode again just to get it back in my mind and realized like it opens, you're looking at Earth and it pans down to a castle, which is clearly on the moon because it's looking at Earth. And I never even bothered to see that, but my brain did.
Yeah,
subconsciously
right.
I knew.
Yeah.
And also I think I might have cheated a little bit.
Oh, yeah?
Way before we even had the idea for this show or we started watching the show or started talking about it.
Yeah.
I think I was just because I know that you like Sailor Moon and I was like trying to get more familiar with it. And I immediately got hijacked in my quest to become familiar with it, which is one of the reasons this show works because I don't know anything about the show.
Right.
Except for I know more about the Saban live action attempt to make an American Sailor Moon show than I do about the entirety of the actual anime. And I think I actually started reading the script to the Saban pilot at one point, or just saw parts of it. And I think see, now I can't remember exactly, and I don't want to reveal that I've been a fraud this whole time because I just read it and just immediately forgot about it. But I think it does have elements of reincarnation and the idea of a moon kingdom. Now, as we were watching this, somebody says moon kingdom or something like that. It never occurred to me. But now that Artemis stops the entire show to explain a bunch of stuff that we already kind of saw in a flashback that Usagi had 5 minutes before.
Yes.
It's bad. It's bad pacing. It's bad script writing.
Yeah, I hear you.
For a kid show.
Yeah.
But we don't treat this like a kid show. And this is way better than a kid show.
It is.
But I think like maybe subconsciously I've kind of had the crib notes because I think a lot of the elements in that stupid Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
Sailor.
Yeah.
Say we got to do a show on that someday.
Someday.
So anyway. But at this point, now that shoe's been dropped, anytime that I, have to decide what I think is going on is all going to be fresh because I have no idea now. Unless I, recover some more memories where, I know about
you
Sailor Pluto or something like
past.
that. Yeah.
Right.
I actually do know that Sailor Pluto does time travel or whatever. I know that.
Yeah.
Look, none of us arrive.
It's hard to.
None of us really can wear white on our wedding day, can we?
Yeah.
We are not all pure. Should we stop here and then come back and bitch more about the show?
What do you think would be the best way to do it?
Hit the commercial bumpers. Hey Trekkies, I'm Caliban.
And I'm Gooey Fame.
And we're the hosts of the new podcast, Backtrekking. I thought that we were going to say it together.
Oh, Backtrekking. Do you want to do it again?
Just don't worry about it. Every week, we look at the real-life inspirations behind classic Star Trek episodes.
The original series, Next Gen, DS9, Voyager, and more. And we're examining the actual events, stories, and concepts that they're based on.
Join us as we go trekking through sci-fi history.
We have a time machine. Let's go back and do the intro again.
Hey Trekkies, I'm Caliban.
Backtrekking!
God damn it! All right, we're back. There really was a rabbit in the moon making rice cakes. Or doing flowers or something. And I want to complain more about the opening. In the open, so now that I have the context, look, I'm like happy and mad at the same time.
Yeah.
That's a skill that we all have, but I've really honed it. I'm like the Lance Armstrong of being happy and mad at the same time. Notice I didn't say Michael Jordan. I think he's just mad all the time.
Whoa.
That's what you watch The Last Dance.
Okay.
That guy runs on, But anyway, now I've realized that I think when you watch the new opening, the second opening to the show, they're showing you everything that happened. They're telling you the story of the Moon Kingdom.
Yeah.
But they're doing it literally in reverse.
Yeah.
Because it opens on a dark Moon Kingdom.
Yeah. Right.
And then it sort of, and it lights up. But as we go on, we see Tuxedo Mask and Usagi, and they're in the ruins, a destroyed Moon Kingdom. That's true.
Yeah.
But as it goes on, it doesn't actually literally like run in backwards like a tape or something like that.
Right.
But she dispels all the things. Water starts flowing from the fountains again.
Yeah.
Some other stuff happens. I don't know. And then right at the end of the thing, it shows the moon. Mm-hmm. But then it changes somehow.
Okay.
I think it like gets an atmosphere.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
I think I know what you mean.
I mean, I don't know what happens in the future, and I don't know anything about the Moon Kingdom other than they're from there. But if they lived on the moon, they'd need to breathe and stuff, right? So maybe the moon was like a vital world at one point. I guess I'm doing I'm doing what I think is going on, I guess. So write it down. I get it on 35. And so so we're seeing that. So and this is one thing the show doesn't do very well. It doesn't like contrast the moon and the Earth very all that great necessarily. When I see an object in the sky, I'm not always sure if it's the moon or the Earth. But I'm going to take your word for it, show that if I'm standing next to the Taj Mahal, I'm seeing the Earth in the sky.
Right.
Which makes the last shot really confusing because it pulls out in its Tuxedo Mask figure and a Princess Serenity figure standing on a parapet or something like that with the Taj Mahal. And there's a thing in the sky that is or isn't Earth. Maybe you see the moon and the moon transitions to the Earth, which don't do that. That's confusing. But then because unless the Moon Kingdom comes to Earth in some way or was on Earth at some point, or she's visiting him in the Earth Kingdom or something like that. I don't know what we're looking at.
Right.
That's my point.
Yeah. I hear you. It is a little confusing, but you're right. It does, without directly telling you, it tells you what's going to happen.
Yeah. So. And so anyway, I'm a little disappointed because they held it too long. Tuco Brahe held his pee in and he died of a bladder infection.
Wow.
But they went for like 35 episodes not telling you anything and giving you breadcrumbs, and that was great. And then they're like, you like breadcrumbs? How about a bakery truck? And they just tell you everything.
Yeah. And
they could have spaced these reveals out. Because Usagi goes from... And I've already watched the next episode, so I know that, Usagi's... She doesn't just shake this off. She's a little changed as a character now.
Yeah.
Which I think is good. Up until like 2 episodes ago, she was eating crepes or whatever, and everything was sliding off of her, and now she's going to be serious? Like, we could have, I think, built that up a little more.
Yeah.
And one of the ways to do that would have been to have her reveal of past memories come at some earlier point. Because literally up until the moment that she transforms into Sailor Moon at the top of the tower with Mamoru standing there, she hates this guy still.
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if we had done something where maybe 10 episodes back, maybe around the time of the Diamond Princess and the party or whatever, we were learning that Tuxedo Mask has these weird memories or dreams. Maybe Usagi could also experience that, and her feelings about Mamoru get more complicated, until we learn something explicit, in this episode or maybe a little bit before. But instead it's like, huge reveal, I'm Endymion, and then 4 minutes later, hold on everybody, you guys are all aliens from the moon. What?
Yeah, I know.
They held it too long. They held their wad way too long.
I hear you. I think maybe one reason why they did what they did is because that's what happened in the manga. But I think we talked about this before off the air, and I think you had a good point. Like, I'm not saying that like you can say a lot with stories in manga, and you can be very expressive, but maybe with an anime, because there are filler episodes, there are episodes that have information and have things that happen that don't happen in the manga. So they could have gone a different route with this. They had essentially more time to tell this story. So why didn't they space it out more? Why didn't they make the reveals more gradual, and why is the change in her view of Mamoru like so sudden, and it's so drastic.
I mean, he did, how no matter how much he makes fun of your hair, if he throws himself in front of like a crystal shard to save your life, your opinion about him is going to change.
Right. But
they're just kind of backfill now that the seal is broken. They're just sort of backfilling like all this stuff about him. Like I do like the show. I do think it's for adults as well as kids, but I don't think it's adult enough to be suggesting. I know in the Yumemi Yumeno episode, she kind of gets a look at him and she's like, maybe he's not so bad, but then they resume fighting. And so you can retcon or sort of headcanon that like she's been fighting this sort of attraction to him. She doesn't understand her feelings about him.
Right.
But I don't know if this text supports that. And then now in episode 36, it's just like, oh no, that's totally what it is. Like she's totally in love with him. She has merged all these feelings about Tuxedo Mask and even possibly her past memories and romance with, this character or a character this character was reincarnated from. And it's like, well, I mean, we could have taken the 3 episodes that you just spent, which were basically just like the girls confronting, Zoisite.
Yes.
We could have spent 3 episodes doling that out a little more.
Yeah, right.
Instead of just
Usagi
dropping it all.
Coming to grips with her new feelings for Mamoru and trying to reconcile, like, well, why did I feel this way about him before?
And anime has a weird thing because anime is very episodic.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like real serial animes, and there are some, but it's almost always on purpose designed to deliver different experiences. You think about something like Neon Genesis Evangelion, here he goes again, which, sure, over time you get to understand better the dynamic between Rei, Shinji, and Asuka, and what Shinji is going through and the problems with his father, and the relationship between him and between Shinji and Misato and Toji and Toji? Who's the guy with the melons?
God, I don't remember.
And but at the same time, sometimes it's just oh, it's a giant teddy bear angel. Yeah. Or you get something like Samurai Champloo, which is literally, or Cowboy Bebop for that matter, same producer.
Yeah.
That are like, we've got a real quest here. We got to find her father, or whatever. And then like, oh, we're rapping or something like that. Every episode has nothing to do with any other episode. And then it's like, wait, stop. It's the end of the first season. Okay. Oh man, this is serious. Where is this samurai that smells like sunflowers? And it's like, well, which is it? Like, is it just good times all the time? Or is it, we got to build up this long thing. Now, if you had actually finished Kill la Kill, maybe you'd be able to weigh in here.
Whoa.
Because Kill la Kill is literally about her defeating the different levels of classmen or whatever, right? So there is a build, but do they go to like the water park for one episode? Remember, you always go to the beach or a water park in an anime.
Wow.
But that's for fan service, and Kill la Kill is like walking fan service. So I don't even know how any of that works. We haven't even talked about this episode. See, this is why we need a Patreon. We could cut all this stuff out and put it in the Patreon as like extra bits.
Extra coverage.
Little snacks.
Yeah, right.
Japanese snacks.
Japanese individualized package.
Usagi's
snacks.
Second stomach.
Yeah, right.
All right, well, we got to talk about Kyo Kiromiru.
Okay, yes. For Kyo Kiromiru, Curiously Looking Around, where we talk about elements of Japanese culture within the episode, I thought we would talk about Japanese gendered language. So, when we talked about episode number 33, we mentioned how the Sailor Scouts use Japanese women's language and Beryl utilizes the more formal standard Japanese. So I thought we would talk about what is women's language in Japanese and what does it mean and that sort of thing.
Okay, as a way into this for our listeners, but mostly for me, would you expect a character like Beryl to be using female?
No.
No. Am I giving it all away already?
No, just because a lot of, not everything, but a lot of the women's language sort of features is to kind of like soften the way that you sound and
it's like a dialect.
Yeah, in a way. And to be a little bit more demure or what have you. And that is not Beryl at all. So, no, I would not expect her to speak with that.
Right. But, okay. So, once again, just a setup for you to get into this.
Yeah.
Normally, that would just be the way a character acts. Like,
yes.
A female character in a anime or show, not an anime, it has to be American. In an American show, could be like, I'd like a glass of lemonade, please. I'm thirsty. But then you could have a Southern belle at a cotillion be like, I'd be ever so grateful if you could get me a glass of lemonade.
Right.
I do declare.
Yeah.
Like, right?
Yes.
But that's not, they're using the same language, basically, right? Or would you consider it to be similar in that? I guess I used like 30% more words when I was the Southern belle, which felt good.
I think it's similar, but there are, specific ways of talking or specific terms that you use.
I will never understand these people's language.
Okay, well,
does the owl do Japanese?
The owl?
Duolingo?
Oh, I'm sure, absolutely positive that they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never checked it out, so I have no idea what it's like.
I mean, he's so mean.
Is he mean?
Just for Spanish. Like, can you imagine how bad he'd be for Japanese?
I can't.
I don't want to do my lesson today. Comes through the window. You will learn Japanese!
So the Japanese language has some grammatical constructions and words that are affiliated with women or girls and others that are affiliated with men or boys.
Is this like gendering nouns and stuff like that?
It's
so
similar,
weird for Americans
because
we don't do that really
different.
at all.
It's similar, but it's different. And I'll get into that in a little bit.
Maybe if I stop interrupting you.
No, it's okay. This is what's referred to as gendered language in Japanese. In Japanese, speech patterns affiliated with women are called ona kotoba, or women's words, or josegyo, or women's language. And those affiliated with men are called dansegyo, or men's language. In general, the words and speech patterns affiliated with men are seen as rough, rude, or curt, while those affiliated with women are thought of as being more courteous, more respectful, or softer. Some linguists think of the explanation of these differences as better described as the, quote, rough-soft continuum instead of the, quote, male-female continuum. It has also been referred to as being, quote, blunt-gentle instead of male-female. Gendered language in Japanese varies a lot from other languages, unlike a lot of languages like Spanish and French, which is what you were talking about. It isn't grammatical at all. So guys can talk more like girls, and girls can talk more like guys. Based on how frequently someone does this, they can sound strange, but they won't be grammatically incorrect. Most Japanese language courses are taught neutral or formal Japanese.
Strange how?
Strange how?
Yeah. Like it would just be like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something, because we don't have that either. It's so weird that it's focused or it's funneled specifically through language, because you could have, a man act effeminately.
Yes.
Or you could have a woman grab her crotch and spit.
Sure.
But the words that they use within a certain range would be essentially the same.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect coarser language from somebody who is acting, quote unquote, coarser, or I guess more male.
Mm-hmm.
But suddenly they have a different set of prepositions or something like that. Like, what are the parts of the language that are different?
Well, I'll get to the more specifics, but there are sentence enders, participles.
That's right.
Yeah. One of the big ones,
everything.
Well, one of the big things is personal pronouns.
Oh, Usagi bro.
Wow. So it's kind of minor language, like elements that change and are used by different genders. And what I meant by they could sound strange is maybe that's not what society expects. So, somebody might react to you if like you're a man and you're using more feminine language. Somebody might be like, why are you talking like that or something like that?
And I don't live in Japan, so I don't know, although I assume that society, the mores or expectations are a lot different than here.
But some things seem to be, it's changing. And some things, for whatever reason, seem to be more accepted than others. And I think I would expect that this would continue to change too.
Sure.
So I don't know. Maybe people are more open to it these days. But I guess that's not what I found when I researched it.
You got a lot of ladies spitting on the ground over there.
So yeah, most Japanese language courses are taught neutral or formal Japanese, which is typically gender neutral. So you may not have to worry about gendered language in Japanese until you're learning at a more intermediate level. Mm-hmm. It should be mentioned that not everyone who speaks Japanese uses gendered language. It's more of a personal preference.
Wait, what? You don't even have to do it?
You don't have to do it.
Man, what am I talking about?
because some of the characters in the show use it.
Sure. Like Beryl.
Beryl doesn't use it, but the scouts use it.
Oh, right. No, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just focused on it. Get out there and get those crystals.
Right. So the intention of josegyo is to make female talking sound softer and more submissive. Japanese gendered language is used in casual speaking. There are no gender variations in written Japanese except when someone is talking, and practically no variation in polite speech, which is called tengo in Japanese. Gendered language started being used in Japanese sometime after the Meiji period, which again was 1868 to 1912. Around this time is when high-class and scholarly male types started to complain about schoolgirls talking in an, quote, unpleasant, quote, strange, and, quote, vulgar tones. This vulgar speech that schoolgirls were using was blamed on bumpkins and lower-class Japanese. This vulgar speech is very akin to the gendered language in Japanese today and is now thought of as an enduring and lovely tradition.
Noisy, crazy, sloppy, lazy, loafers. While we're on the subject.
So two large factors moved feminine language from being considered vulgar to well-accepted practice. The first was the philosophy of ryosai kenbo, which means good wife, wise mother, and was coined... Yeah, we'll get into it. And was coined by the Japanese educator Nakamura Masamano in 1875. I just wanted to mention, real quick, he is a man. This philosophy depicted the ideal for womanhood in East Asian women. A similar concept existed in both China and Korea. So according to Good Wife, Wise Mother, women were expected to learn and become experts at household skills like cooking and sewing, as well as foster the intellectual and virtuous skills to bring up strong, clever sons for the benefit of the country. In World War II...
And who would marry each other because there are no daughters.
Yeah, I know, right? From World War II, Ryosai Kenbo was taught to encourage traditionalistic, patriotic, and militaristic strategies and to assist a growing capitalist economy. The other big factor that assisted the utilization of gendered language was the quick move to modernize the westernization of the Meiji era.
Capitalism.
Yeah, I know, right? So as not to lose sight of Japanese culture, many cultural traditions were sought out. To be Japanese, and more importantly, to be distinctive from Western cultures, meant speaking in a gendered feminine language. The term onarashi, which means ladylike or feminine in Japanese, makes reference to the conduct expected of a quintessential Japanese women in traditional conditions. As well as acting in certain ways, being onarashi means going along with certain manners of speech. Some of the aspects of women's speech include talking in a higher register, utilizing more polite forms and polite speech or honorifics more frequently, and talking about themselves and those that they talk to more formally. Just as there are manners of talking and conduct that are thought of as essentially feminine, there are also those that are thought of as otokorashi, which means manly or masculine in Japanese. Japanese men's language is considered to utilize less polite forms, distinct pronouns, sentence final particles, as well as some reduced vowels.
What's a final particle?
So particles are words that help emphasize the previous words, and they put emphasis at the end of a sentence.
Right. Are like honorifics like particles too? Oh, I broke.
Wow.
I broke our machine.
Well, I think most honorifics are considered like prefixes or suffixes. So I think they're kind of like things that usually, well, when we write them out in Romanji, are hyphenated with a word. So I think it's a little different. But men's language also uses reduced vowels. So
yeah, bro.
So they don't they don't use as many honorifics, for example. A crucial variance is sentence enders. As an example, women utilize the sentence ender wa, whereas men do not utilize anything at all. For example, if you use the term takai, which means tall, a women may say takai wa, but a men would say takai with no sentence ender. The usage of different terms for I and you are one of the largest variations between how men and women use gendered language. Japanese has many personal pronouns. The Wikipedia page about Japanese pronouns lists just over 51 different variations. Jeez. This does include some obsolete terms. For simplicity's sake, we are going to focus on several different ways to say I. Watashi is utilized by both men and women and is courteous or formal speech. Watakushi is utilized by men and women, and it is the most formal pronoun for I. For men, this usage is thought of as very courteous or formal, and for women, it is thought of as regular courteous or not as formal. Atashi is utilized by women to come off as innocent or childish.
Great.
Boku is utilized by men, but especially younger men, to come off more boyish. More recently, it's being utilized by women more frequently. However, it still comes off as tomboyish when utilized. Ore is utilized by men and is extremely informal. It is typically spoken with other men or even girlfriends. It can be thought of as a little crass or impolite depending on the circumstances. It is utilized to convey masculinity or familiarity among family. Jibun is extremely masculine. It is commonly utilized by the military. It is antiquated. It literally translates as oneself.
Only characters from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure can talk like this.
Right.
The real question is, how does Mako talk?
Okay, so that's a really good question. I was gonna get to this, but so so what I found when I looked up like pronouns used in Sailor Moon, I didn't find a whole lot. I found an article that did confirm that Usagi uses Atashi, and I think I need to listen closer when I watch. But supposedly all of the other four scouts use Atashi as well. However, Mako in the live action Sailor Moon uses Boku.
Ah.
Yes.
That's my girl.
Yeah. But I have confirmation that in Crystal she does not use Boku. So.
Boo. It's just like everything, and the food's terrible. The portions are so small, and the waiters kick you in the balls when you come in. Everything I hear about Crystal is just another cut down. So.
I haven't really seen it, so maybe I need to give it a chance.
Yeah, that's it. Eat at that terrible restaurant, so you know for sure.
Yeah, right.
Go ahead.
Having such a variety of personal pronoun options creates an issue in translating media from Japanese to English. In Japanese, the personal pronouns all communicate the way that the speaker views themselves, but in English, there's no other option than to translate them as I, which is, a little frustrating because you lose that information. Bokuko is the term that is used to refer to a woman who uses the word boku. Bokuko is a word that comes from boku and ko, which is a feminine suffix that frequently is utilized in female names. This is often seen in video games, anime, and manga, but is also seen in real life as well. Being a bokuko can cause mix-ups between characters in media, especially if the bokuko appears androgynous or is gender ambiguous. In these mediums, being a bokuko isn't always an indicator of being a tomboy. Sometimes it's to come off as self-assertive. Sometimes it's because they did not pick up on the correct social conduct. And other times it's an intentional ruse to keep their gender concealed.
Okay.
Although more rare, oreko is the term for a woman who uses ore to refer to herself. Ore is considered to be a lot more macho than boku.
So, like, Usagi Hood would use ore.
Maybe. Yeah. So, like, I guess when I looked into it, there's some information about like maybe like a lot of anime characters who are women, but have kind of like masculine.
Misato.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think Misato actually uses ore, but characters like Misato. So
they don't see. We spent a lot of time on this thing that they don't seem to even care all that much about. Not very consistent with it.
It's all over the map. I know. So the gender flip version of both Bokuko and Oreko is a male character who uses the feminine Itachi. This is used to show that they are either an amiable evil person or that they embrace their feminine side. I don't think Zoisei used
No.
I know.
What about when he's dressed up as fake Sailor Moon?
I don't think so. I know, that would be cool. Although there does seem to be a shift.
Bury me in the fake Sailor Moon costume.
Although there does seem to be a shift, using Boku as a woman is more widely accepted than it used to be. Seems like it's more accepted within Japanese media than in everyday use. As far as I can tell, Oreko and boys using Itachi are seen in the media more than in everyday life. And if it does happen in everyday life, I do not think that it is yet as well accepted as Bokuko are.
Huh.
Yeah.
So it's like TV or movie rednecks versus real rednecks.
Yeah. For whatever reason, it seems to be more widely accepted in media than necessarily
in like a
everyday
movie when
life.
the banjo music starts, you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I know what's going on.
Right.
But in real life, it's like, I mean, just like people that live
Right.
in, non-urban areas.
Right, exactly.
All right.
Yeah, so I do have a very short personal example of this.
Oh, boy.
I had a really good friend in high school who I took Japanese with. She loved Revolutionary Girl Utena, and in the manga and the anime, Utena uses Boku. And she also loved Takarazuka Review. She started using Boku in Japanese class, and my Japanese sensei got really frustrated with her and kept saying that that's for boys, not for girls. My friend was amused by how much this irritated our sensei, and this may have been one of the reasons that she continued to use the word. My friend enjoyed pushing boundaries and being seen as unusual. So at least in an education setting, girls using Boku was not widely accepted in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Someday we're going to get into how gay anime can get wonderfully and what's wrong with Japan and not accepting gays all that much.
I think that's
I think we did talk on this show
previously
about how it's getting better, but for a long time it's been like, oh boy, that's not great. And yet, there's a relationship between a society and its entertainment. I'm going to leave hard gay out of this. Google it. Actually, don't Google it. I'll try to come up with a safe way to Google hard gay for anybody who's interested.
Right,
it's much more innocent than you think it is.
It actually is.
But, so it's like, no, don't be gay. But also check out this show about lesbian sword fighters. And it's like, what?
I know. And Utena, I think the manga came out in 96 and the anime came out in 97. So
okay, well, that's a little more recent, but
yeah, not that far after Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and flowers.
And flowers.
A lot of flowers.
A lot of flowers. A lot of flowers. A lot of sword fighting.
What do we do in that podcast? Whoa.
Off
mic.
Let's not get ahead of
Off
ourselves.
mic. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. I did, before we get into our other sections, want to talk very briefly about the myth of Selene and Endymion. Did I say that right?
Yeah. Before you dig into this, I'll give my just stuttering
Please.
garbage. Here it is. Are they doing... So we know who Selene is. I guess I'm kind of giving some stuff away here. But the goddess of the moon.
Yeah.
In Greek mythology.
She's the Titan goddess of the moon in Greek mythology,
Right.
yes.
She's a Titan. She's still a goddess, whatever.
She is.
And then we've got Serenity. Now, some aspects of the moon could be thought of as serene, but are they doing that thing where they don't, where there's an L and there's an R? How come she's not called, like, Selene? I mean, it's so explicit that I should have waited till you were done. It's so explicit that it's not like, I'm Shmemion. Like, his name is literally Endymion.
Yeah.
And she's Serenity.
Yes.
And it's like there's Selene, there's Serene.
Yes.
Are they just going, hey, it actually worked in our favor this time because Serenity's a cool name?
I will get to it.
Sorry.
It's
I'm making this episode like 2 hours long.
It's all good.
By being so smart.
So, it is a Greek myth, and it is Selene or Selene, and she's the Titan goddess of the moon. She's often associated with Artemis, who is also considered to be goddess of the moon and of the hunt.
Get in line.
Right. Selene is best known for her love affair with Endymion, a beautiful mortal. There is some debate over Endymion's identity. Some say he was related to or was the prince of Elis, or that he was a shepherd. Others say that he was an astronomer.
I just fall in love with hot shepherds in Greek myth.
Yeah, I don't know what it
real.
is.
It's steely-eyed.
Love outside.
Square-jawed.
Care
shepherds.
about animals. Yeah, I don't know.
You pick up sheep. Got a lean shepherd's body.
Yeah, there you go.
In the moonlight.
Athletic.
Seems pretty good. Who wouldn't take a bite?
Yeah. The myth has different variations. One version is that Selene believed Endymion was so handsome that she asked Endymion's father, Zeus, to endow him.
Wait, he was a demigod? That's a little different.
Well, he is immortal, but his father is Zeus. I know.
Right.
To endow him with eternal youth so that he would never leave her. In another version, Selene so loved how Endymion looked when he was asleep in the cave of Mount Latmus that she beseeched Zeus that he stayed that way. In another variation...
just put him to sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Just put him to sleep.
Yeah. In another variation, Zeus desired to penalize Endymion for boldly showing amorous regard to Hera. In another...
Whoa!
Yeah. In another version, it was Endymion's decision to be eternally young and asleep forever.
It's Sleeping Duty.
Yeah, right?
It's Sleeping Duty.
Sleeping Duty.
That's what it is.
I like it.
He's
yes,
asleep.
It is. In all versions, Zeus grants this desire and puts Endymion into an eternal sleep. Each night, Selene went to see him when he slept and had 50 daughters with him who are identified...
Whoa!
Yep. Who are identified by some scholars with the 50 months of the Olympiad.
That's like the 4 years in between. It's like the epoch in between, like, Olympic years, right?
Okay, I think so. Yeah.
Because it's 12. Well, their calendar is a little different, but
right.
It's because it's lunar or whatever. But
right.
It's 50 months.
Whoa. Yeah.
That's not consensual.
That's not okay. I know, right?
Whoa. You know what? It is Sleeping Duty. Because in the original Grimm's myth, you know, being asleep didn't stop the prince from doing what he's got to do. What he doing something terrible.
Yeah,
and then she wakes up because after giving birth, her baby is trying to suckle, and he sucks the sliver out, and that's what wakes her up.
Wow. Okay, I didn't realize that. That's
I'll ruin anything.
Selene came to Earth in her moon chariot. She came down to Earth just to visit with Endymion. It is thought that Princess Serenity's name is derived from Selene, but it is possible that Serenity also comes from the Maria Serentitis or the Sea of Serenity, which is a lunar Maria... Mari?
Yeah.
I'm saying it wrong. A lunar Mari on the moon.
That's Amare.
Yeah. Luna Mare are big, dusky, basilistic plains on Earth's moon created by ancient volcanic eruptions.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, that's the myth of Selene and Endymion for you. So there's not. That's
well, we'll be mining that for what we think is coming up on the show. Are there a couple of cats who get their memories back conveniently when the princess reveals herself?
No cats.
That's another cheesy thing. I'm still doing it. Why does Luna not have her memories? We go 35 episodes, and it isn't even like this. This is why it's like a bad hacky writing thing, because it isn't even like Luna. Because we've seen in the past that Luna's talking to somebody on the computer. Like we know Luna knows things that girls don't know, but why couldn't she just know everything? But also know there's nobody for her to talk to except for the computer person. She's talking to the computer person, and the computer person's like, they need to know everything. And Luna's like, these are 14-year-old girls. Like, let's just parse it out a little.
Yes.
But instead, to make up for the fact that they never really planned any of that stuff up in the first 34 episodes, Artemis is just like, did you get your memories back, Luna? Luna's like, sure did. Great.
Well, I mean...
Luna was under a memory loss that we didn't know about for 34 episodes.
I know.
And it's not like, well, that's what it is. That's what it is because you can write whatever you want. You can write that Usagi wears a hat on her butt, but like instead of her head. But, you know, they just did that. When you cram something in at the end like that, you're just, you know, you're patching up the cracks in the plaster, basically.
I get where you're coming from.
Is it different in the manga?
Well, like, does Luna have her memories? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
I'll have to read that part over again and get back to you. I don't remember if it's a reveal that they get the cats that Luna and Artemis get their memories back or not. So I'll get back to you on that. But I think maybe part of it is that we have to remember that Takeuchi was creating the manga, you know, just the issues were coming, the chapters, the acts were coming out just months before they were doing the anime. So maybe they didn't have that information. No, not good enough?
Well, yeah. I've made my criticisms.
Okay, all right. So for Itadakimasu with Usagi, what did Usagi eat in this episode? Nothing.
Good, move on.
So we're moving on. So My Heart is a Kaleidoscope, where we talk about fashion and Sailor Moon. What the heck are they wearing? Prince Endymion's outfit is mostly navy blue and has a militaristic feel to it. There are white piping details on the chest and by his waist.
I forgot to look. Epaulets? Are we in an epaulet situation?
Well, he doesn't have epaulets, but he has these huge shoulder armor plates that come out. So, yeah.
Why did I know that? That's what 30 years of D&D will do to you.
Wow. So what was the word again?
Pauldron.
Okay. Okay. I learned a new word today. And he has more armor surrounding his waist that goes around his lower back and that fans out from his waist, covering his hips on the outside of his legs. He has a brown fabric sash that holds his very long sword. When attached at his waist, yeah, it almost goes down to his shin. He has long black armored boots that go over his knees. He has a navy blue cape that is attached to his outfit with buttons at the shoulders, over the shoulder guards, and has a red lining.
Can we just assume that the other female we see in Silver Millennium, the Kingdom of the Moon, is the Queen of the Moon?
Do you want spoilers?
I don't want spoilers, but let's just assume. So now we've got a character.
Yeah.
Did we see enough of her costume to talk about what she was wearing?
We can talk about it. I think that there will be other things to say later regarding this, but I did want to talk about it. No, it's okay. But I was just going to refer to her as the mysterious woman who we see in the Moon Kingdom in the flashback.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe that's a little wordy.
I think we're not children.
Okay, all right. Okay.
I think we know where we're going here.
Okay. She is wearing a form-fitting long white dress that flows out at the bottom. It is sleeveless and has a big aqua bow on the chest with a small gold crescent moon in the middle of it.
Cool.
And I don't... Oh, and I think she has small gold dangly earrings as well. So that's pretty much all we saw of her.
Yep.
And now we are at villain gauge, rate a baddie, 1 to 5 dark stars, 5 being the most wicked. So, since we lose Zoe's sight in this episode, yeah, I thought we could talk about and rate Zoe Sight.
Big, huge misstep.
Yeah?
There's nothing. Look, Nephrite, great.
Yeah.
Got a story that it's not even in the manga from what I understand. Like they, out of whole cloth, they wove this interesting arc for this character.
Yes.
And not every bad guy has to have an arc. As I was saying that, I began to disagree with it, but whatever. It's a quote unquote kids show, but man, we went through so much with this guy.
I know.
And saw him do so much and even got a little quote unquote humanity from him when he's in the tunnel of rats.
I know.
And stuff. And then you think like, I don't know what the show is trying to do or say by just going like, oh boy, the girl's having trouble with this. Mm-hmm. And then he's dead.
Yeah, I know.
He's dead.
I know.
And I was even trying to come up with some sort of like interesting way for him to die or some sort of hubristic something or other. But he literally just, he fails again. Although, to be fair, he had no idea that the super weapon from, the earlier time or whatever would find its way into the hands of the heroes. No. And he just goes back and he's like, another chance? No, I'm going to die. I'm dead. Okay, I'm dead.
Well, and I think the really crappy part of it, is that when you look back at the four kings that we've really seen so far, Jadeite, Nephrite, and Zoisite, I think that Zoisite was the most successful of the three of those in actually doing things for the Dark Kingdom. Like, he got the vast majority of the rainbow crystals, and actually at the end, him and Kunzite got all the crystals.
Right. And he's Zoyan left and right, and he's really getting it done.
Yeah.
And he was even messing with Nephrite when he was trying to do his thing.
Yeah.
And like Jadeite, that little punk gets run over by a jetliner. He gets an awesome death. And
he got eternal sleep.
Right,
by
yeah,
Beryl,
but
yeah.
Right. But he got canceled. So like Zoisite just, I don't know. I mean, it's hats off to a true king. 5 dark stars. Wasted death. See you at the crossroads.
I know.
Pour out a weird Dark Kingdom tumbler of green liquid for my boy.
I was just going to say, I love Zoisite, and we've talked about this before. He's devious, cunning, clever, and out for himself. He has so much style. The way he floats in the air with his legs casually crossed. The way
if you can fly, why use your legs?
I know, right? The way that he exits with a swirl of pink flower petals. The way that he twirls his hair. The way that he commands the black crystal with the casual shortening of his name, Zoe. The way that he laughs and cackles evilly. He gets jealous easily, but is easily calmed. He prides himself on being beautiful and takes getting hurt personally. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't, but like, he really takes it personally.
We could set all that to music, I think. Yeah. Give me a few minutes here.
That was my love letter to Zoisite. I do really like the romantic relationship with Kunzite in the anime as well. I do think that maybe they could have done more to develop their relationship.
Anything?
But I do like that it's there. And as you mentioned, I think his death is upsetting. That Beryl basically calls him trash, and she says, dispose of that trash to Kunzite.
It's a thing. I know, and hopefully...
It's horrible.
Well, hopefully we're going to have more of Beryl in the future, and she's not just sitting, watching TV all the time.
Yeah.
And so this is... I get it. Like, it's a chance for them to... In wrestling, there's a thing where you put somebody over, basically, which says that you are going to wrestle somebody, and you're going to lose to them, and you're going to lose pretty much fair and square to show the crowd that they're good. They're really good.
Yeah.
And I think it was The Rock that said, although I'm sure other wrestlers have said stuff like this, but there's a lot of wrestlers who are protective of their image, and they'll argue with the bookers, the guys that write the storylines.
Yeah.
Spoilers, wrestling's fake. And who will argue with them, but like, well, I don't want to lose. And that was a problem with like Hulk Hogan for a long time, is that they couldn't tell him no because he was basically the face of the company, but they were like, you have to give up the belt sometimes because we have to do storylines with bad guys and generate heat. And so, but The Rock was always like, I've never had a problem like, laying down to somebody else because it all builds up to something, it builds up to WrestleMania or a big match. You make a guy look like $1 million, and then when you beat him, you beat $1 million guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I get what they're doing. It's a weird example to use, but drawing on my personal history. And so I get it. Like, we've seen him do so much and accomplish so much, and she just destroys him with one thing. He never had a chance.
Yeah. And
he's trash. And so now we know that, like, she's the king dog on campus.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I mean, it's like, couldn't we? I don't know. Something else. Maybe he tries to fight back, and she, he goes out in a blaze of glory or something. Or
that it would have been nice to have him,
or put the sailors over, like have them team up and just, Kunzite's off, he's going to the bathroom or something, and then and the girls team up and blow him away.
Well, I think that would give Kunzite more motivation.
Because now Kunzite only hates Beryl, right? I don't know if that will turn into anything.
We'll see.
Well, it sounds like no, because you're not good at hiding things. But yeah, it was just, it's a really weird and bad decision.
I agree. I do think what Kunzite does
What's your rating?
For Zoisite was sweet.
Yeah.
5 out of 5 dark stars.
Of course. For
sure. Do you have any favorite Zoisite moments?
He's all his jokes. He's got bits.
He does.
And jokes.
Yeah.
When he's at the cafe with Crane Master Joe, and he's like, "Can I take your order?"
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, we'll have some tea." It's like, you get death. Yeah. Or the time that he just fell spread eagle down an alley onto an 8-year-old girl. It's times like that you really remember.
For me, it would either be when he reveals that he was the Nisei Sailor Moon, or when he, or when he was, I know, or when he was following Rhett Butler through the sewers. I thought that was pretty great.
Yeah.
Too, so
when he does a little wormy twist into the tiny little crack.
Exactly.
I will remember you.
Exactly. I know, right? In our segment Sabu or Dabu, where we talk about the differences between the sub and the dub, in episode 34, after Serena or Usagi turns into the Moon's princess, they added the line, "Me, Serena, a princess? Man, this is way past weird," which I think is kind of silly.
I hate that.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I don't know why they did that. So in episode 35, the part where Zoisite is lying on the ground after Beryl attacks was cut in the dub.
He just disappears.
We just cut to something else. Just didn't show him on the ground there. The dub added a line when Sailor Jupiter is carrying Sailor Moon. "She may be a princess, but she isn't light," which completely unnecessary.
Which we've seen her pick up a car or whatever. I don't think it's going to be a problem.
I know. Parts of Luna and Artemis's recount of what happened with the Moon Kingdom was different. In the dub, they said that Beryl broke out of her prison and assaulted the Moon Kingdom instead of the original where evil spirits took over the Earth and then attacked the Moon. The flashback of Tuxedo Mask getting impaled with a crystal from the previous episode was cut in the dub. The part where Sailor Mars slapped Sailor Moon was cut, but was seen in the episode preview. We've done that before. And then this, I think, I can understand them cutting the slap, but this Sailor Mars lines right after the slap would have happened were also altered. Instead of calling Sailor Moon a coward, Sailor Mars apologizes for not believing in Sailor Moon as a leader after observing what she did with the crystal.
Yeah, that's what that moment is supposed to be.
No, it's totally different.
Yeah.
So I don't like that. In the original, Sailor Mercury says to Kunzite, "I'll take you on." In the dub, it was changed to, "Go bleach your roots, creep."
Okay.
I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird. So now we're up where we rate the episode 1 to 5 roses, 5 being the best, and say our English or Deke titles. We get the Serenity and Endymion reveal. We get some Moon Kingdom information. And, I originally wanted to give this episode a 4. But the more that we talked about just how it was like kind of an information dump and exposition and everything. I can't really unsee that. So I'm going to give it a 3.
A 3.
Yes.
So harsh. So harsh.
All right.
Not like the 2 I'm giving it.
All right. I can't say I'm terribly surprised.
Even considered as 1/3 of an hour-long episode.
Yeah.
It doesn't really pay off anything that really happened in the last 2 episodes all that much. There are things that I guess they still have restraint because I think there's things that they don't want to blow the lid off of just yet. It's significant that Ray's like, oh yeah, are you sad?
Yeah.
Are you sad?
Right, I know.
It's like, my boyfriend got killed.
I know.
But they can't really go all in on that because I'm sure something's coming up in the future about that. And so, I mean, it's just a bunch of cats talking, you know what I mean? Like, I don't...
I know.
They set themselves up for this, and I think they earned the 2 that I want to give it.
All right. My English title is Archives Past Lives.
That sounds like the second half of a newspaper article.
Okay. All right.
White Cat Talks, Archives Past Lives.
Okay, here's the
Dog
better.
stops, spots God. Boy. Bad Moon Rising.
Ooh. See, that makes it sound intriguing.
No, it makes it sound like a CCR song. Or Born on the Bai Moon.
What?
Born on the Bai Moon.
Next episode, we are talking about episode number 36. Usagi Konran. Tuxedo Kamen wa Aku in Japanese. Usagi's Confusion. Is Tuxedo Mask evil? The English translation and the English title, Bad Hair Day.
I'm not scared. There's a million hair puns. I'll be ready when the time comes.
I think he will. I was thinking about that, actually.
Yeah.
I was like, he's going to have so many.
You made me use 0.01% of my hair pun power. See you next time.
Right? Well, that's our show for this week, and the Name of the Moon will be punishing you next week with another episode of Sailor Noob.
Born on the Bai Moon.